All-round merriment is our lookout. Merry should be every day. What we do for achieving this merriment and bringing out a little mirth into our life? Perhaps festivals will do this to a certain extent. Merry Christmas to you all, and we wish you a very happy New Year too, along with. Welcome once again to News Analysis. News Analysis, a weekly magazine on current affairs. To begin with, the main points in a nutshell. India discovers gold-plated food. Syria officials twin bombings in Damascus kills 30. DR Congo police block entry to Tshisekedi inauguration. Philippines floods, more than 1,000 remain missing. Breast implants, France recommends removal. Singapore civil servants accused of 455 charges of fraud. Now, the news in detail. India discovers gold-plated food. The humble dosha, a pancake made from rice batter and lentils, may be very popular in South India. But the country's newly prosperous middle classes can now relish a gold-plated version of this same dish, dosha. Dosha come in many varieties, for example, plain or with potato masala dosha, filling, and they are not very expensive, costing between 50 and maybe at the maximum 100 rupees in a luxury hotel. That means it comes around $4 sometimes. But the Rajbog restaurant in the southern Indian city of Bengaluru, formerly known as Bangalore, now offers dosha covered in a coating of pure gold. The luxury comes at a price. Each gold dosha costs princely sum of rupees 1,011 Indian rupees, and in American currency it's around $19. Diners are promised that they can tuck into 1 milligram of gold spread out over 12 centimeter by 12 centimeter pure gold foil spread over the dosha. The gold is added to each dosha in a final wrap, very much like adding a thin sheet of cheese or butter while applying the finishing touches to any dish. Gold consumer for the restaurant is probably just an innovative way of marketing itself, an attempt to stand out in Malleshwaram, an upmarket area in India's IT capital, Bengaluru or Bangalore. But as Indian society becomes more affluent, the restaurant squarely aims at those who have the ability to spend on such dishes. The drive behind this innovative venture was to capture the market with a different idea, and the trial showed it could be a big hit, says Vasant Kumar, one of the partners of the restaurant. He dismisses accusations that the golden dosha is a cheap publicity stunt to promote the business. There may be skepticism about the use of precious metals in the food industry, says Vasant Kumar, but the restaurant received a food safety certificate from the Bengaluru Corporation, and the gold foils are procured from an ISO certified company in the North Indian state of Rajasthan. And there is some precedent. Some luxury sweet shops in India have long used thin silver foils to wrap their sweets. The country also has a tradition of using gold and silver in various indigenous medicines, though medics differ on how effective the use is. The Ayurveda system of Indian medicine has certainly been using gold in traditional medicines for many centuries, especially even in drugs used in serious conditions like infertility, where a prolonged use of drugs is required. They use gold, Suvarna Bhasma and all those things. While the volume of gold production in India is negligible, the country is the biggest market for gold in the world. According to the World Gold Council, India brought around 1,000 metric tons of gold in 2011. and the price now is more than 20,000 rupees for 8 grams. Syria officials: twin bombings in Damascus kills 30. The Syrian government says more than 30 people have been killed in 2 suicide car bombings outside security service facilities in the capital, Damascus. State TV earlier has suspected Al-Qaeda militants and targeted bases of the General Security Directorate and another agency in the Kafr Sousa area. But the opposition activists said the government had staged the attacks to influence an Arab League observer team. They are part of a scheme aimed at ending the deadly crackdown on dissent. The UN says more than 5,000 people have been killed and thousands more detained since anti-government protests erupted in March. The monitors are tasked with observing and overseeing the government's compliance with an agreement that should see an end to violence on both sides. Troops withdrawn from the streets and all detained protesters released. Witnesses told press reporters that Friday's explosions emanated from the western Kobon district of Damascus, close to Abbasine Square, and from the Jamarek area of Mesa, an eastern district of the capital. State TV said several soldiers and large number of civilians were killed in 2 attacks carried out by suicide bombers driving vehicles packed with explosives against bases of state security, General Security Directorate, and another branch of the security services in the upmarket Kafr Sousa district, southwest of the city center. Preliminary investigation showed Al-Qaeda was responsible, it added. Video footage was broadcast of heavily damaged buildings with rescue workers combing through burned buildings and blood-stained debris, and ambulances taking the injured away. The state-owned news channel Al Khabaria Al Syria said the first bomb targeted the offices of an unnamed security agency in Kafr Sousa. Afterwards, a 4x4 vehicle filled with explosives approached a building in Kafr Sousa housing the General Security Directorate. When the guards inside went outside to inspect the aftermath of the first blast, the driver of the vehicle detonated the bomb, killing a number of guards and civilians, Al Khabaria Al Syria reported. The explosion shook the house. It was frightful, said Nidal Hamidi, a Syrian journalist who lives in Kafr Sousa, told the Associated Press. Mr. Hamidi said gunfire was heard immediately following the explosion and said windows up to 200 meters away were shattered. Reports from Syria are difficult to verify as foreign journalists are unable to move around the country freely. The powerful General Security Directorate plays an important role in quelling internal dissent and has been accused of widespread abuses. BBC's reporter Jim Moyer in Beirut says Syria's government insists that the unrest in the country is caused by armed terrorist gangs, and points is clearly underlined by the explosions. Activists who maintain their movement is peaceful will undoubtedly regard the timing as deeply suspicious and accuse the government of staging the attacks, our reporters reports. DR Congo police block entry to Tshisekedi inauguration. Troops in the Democratic Republic of Congo are blocking entry to a stadium where the main opposition leader plans to inaugurate himself as a president. Etienne Tshisekedi has rejected the official victory of incumbent President Joseph Kabila in November's elections. The reporter's Thomas Hubert in capital Kinshasa says there is a large security presence around the stadium. But Mr. Tshisekedi's spokesman told the BBC and other news reporters UDPS leaders still intended to go ahead with the inauguration. President Kabila was sworn in for a second term on Tuesday after being declared the official winner with 49% of the vote, compared to Mr. Tshisekedi 32%. Western observers denounced the presidential results as seriously flawed, but the Election Commission, backed by the African Union, hailed the polls as success. The US-based campaign group Human Rights Watch says police have killed at least 24 people since the disputed polls. Tanks, water cannon and RPGs on Thursday. Mr. Tshisekedi's Union for Democracy and Social Progress Party sent out what appeared to be official invitations on presidential letterheads, urging journalists and diplomats to attend the swearing-in ceremony on Friday morning. But press reporters says he was refused entry to the stadium and all the roads around Mr. Tshisekedi's residence in capital have been cordoned off. According to the AFP news agency, police have used tear gas to disperse opposition supporters gathered around the house. The police, military and Kabila's elite Republican Guard have all been deployed around Murtaya Stadium in Kinshasa, which is an opposition stronghold, as our correspondent reports. Tanks, water cannon and soldiers armed with machine guns and rocket-propelled grenades can also be seen around. The police have made some arrests of people trying to get into the stadium, our reporter says. A few hundred people are walking towards the stadium on one of the city's main streets but are proceeding with caution, he adds. Diplomats have been encouraging dialogue over the disputed poll, but dozens of people have died in clashes in Kinshasa and other opposition strongholds since election day. November polls were the second in DR Congo since 1998-2003 war, which claimed an estimated 4 million lives. On Thursday, the Election Commission halted the counting of votes from the parliamentary poll, saying it needed international help to complete counting following allegations of rigging. Philippines floods. More than 1,000 remain missing. The Philippines government says 1,079 people are still missing in the wake of the devastating typhoon Washi. More than 1,000 others are known to have died in the storm, which struck Mindanao Island on Saturday. Entire neighborhoods in Cagayan de Oro and Iligan cities were swept away. The previous estimate for the missing was just 51, but officials say the new figure includes city migrant workers whose rural relatives did not immediately realize they were missing. The authorities acknowledge that the new number may be still not accurate, reports the BBC's Kate McGuigan in Manila. Entire families who were killed may still not be accounted for, and some of the missing may also be counted among the unidentified dead. But says our correspondent, it's clear that the scale of this disaster is far greater than the authorities originally thought. The death toll from the disaster now stands at 1,080, the government says. Some 338,000 people have been affected and more than 10,000 homes damaged. Tens of thousands of people are now living in evacuation camps. Many of those who died were sleeping as the typhoon Washi caused rivers to burst their banks, leading to landslides. Aid agencies have appealed for funds to help local people. The United Nations is seeking $28.6 million from donors to help provide water and sanitation to storm victims.